That's better. So the process is importing our bank statement into ABR, extracting those NetSuite GL transactions from the general ledger. We go into the ABR reconcile window, we perform some auto matching, and then we manually match any remaining transactions before we complete the reconciliation. And then obviously that's repeated at desired intervals, once a month, once a week, whenever you get your bank statement. Okay, so let's begin that process. Give that message. Okay. So ABR for NetSuite is, well, everything for ABR is centered for convenience around this custom tab and dashboard. And in this webinar, we're going to concentrate on the reconcile processes of ABR. Okay, so first things, I'm going to take you to the reconcile window. Select a bank account. We'll just open that window. Okay, so this is the reconcile window, and at the moment these lists of transactions here are empty, but on the left hand side we'll have a list of NetSuite transactions, and on the right a list of the bank statement transactions. So this account has been previously reconciled, so there are no outstanding transactions in these lists at the moment. So now I'm going to take you through the process of how we populate both of these sides so that we can begin the reconcile matching process. And the first thing we need to do is import a bank statement. And the bank statement I'm going to import is in a CSV format. I'll just show you my example bank statement. And this is the typical file that would have been downloaded from your banking interface. Okay, so a quick word on the bank statement formats. I'm using an example Lloyd's TSB format, but as part of the ABR module setup, your statement format will be defined in ABR and it can be matched to any bank statement format. So to do that, we configure a bank statement format definition. So let's go and have a quick look at that. Open up our Lloyd's TSB format definition. And what this screen does is set out the format. To start with, we choose a type of format. So at the moment, I've got a comma separated format, or it could just be simple text. There are a few options for skipping header and footer rows, and we can see in my statement format I've got a couple of header rows which are not transactions and a footer row which is again not a transaction, so that's the reason I'm going to skip 2 header rows and 1 footer row. And then on the lower part of the form we've got the list of columns, and here we match up the ABR columns with the columns on the bank statement. And then we tell ABR which of those columns, in this case a CSV file, to import. Alright, so let's do that. Let's import our bank statement. So we come to ABR, reconcile, import bank statement. First of all, we need to select our format, so that's our Lloyd's TSB. Okay, and that automatically gives us a list of accounts using this format, and this account here is our reconcile account we wish to reconcile. Okay, so then we need to choose our file, our upload file, in this case CSV file. So I choose our file and hit submit. And so what's happening now is that NetSuite is creating these bank statement transactions in the ABR reconcile window. It's taken us to a status page which tells us that the statement import is complete and gives us a quick link back to our reconcile window. So we'll just click on that. Wait for this screen to open. So this is the same window we were looking at before, but now we've populated it with a list of bank statement transactions. Okay, so that's done. So the next step is to extract our NetSuite transactions, this list over here. These are transactions you want to reconcile against these bank statement transactions. So to do this, we go to our ABR reconcile menu and go to extract transactions. We pick the account. And once we've selected that, it automatically populates this field here, which is a list of NetSuite accounts that this ABR account relates to. And just a quick note here is that ABR will support a Reconcile ABR account which is linked to multiple NetSuite GL accounts. Okay. A cutoff date has defaulted to the last reconciliation date. I do need to select a to date, so I'm going to say that's the date of my new bank statement. So that'll be today. And then I hit submit. So NetSuite is going to extract all these transactions into ABR. We've been taken to this process status page showing our current extract, and it's showing in progress at the moment, and we just need to wait for that to finish. Just refresh the screen until it's finished. Okay, so now it's completed. Good, so once it has completed, we can return to our reconcile window. So now back in here we can see we've got both sides of our transaction lists populated. On the left we've got our NetSuite transactions, and on the right hand side we've got our bank statement transactions. So before we carry on with the reconciliation, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the fields and other things on this window. Firstly, there is a help button, and there will be a help button on all ABR windows and screens. And this help button will take you to the help files for the particular process you're working in. So in this case, this help file is describing the ABR reconciliation window, which is where we are. Okay. So under the bank details section at the top, we can see the bank account, the subsidiary, this is a one world account, the currency of the bank account, and the statement date. This statement date defaults to the latest transaction on the bank statement side. Okay, we also have the NetSuite account balance just here, and underneath it a summary of the matched and unmatched transactions. And then on the right hand side we've got the statement opening balance and a total of the matched and unmatched transactions, and then the statement ending balance. Okay, right, so we want to perform a reconciliation on these transactions, and the first thing we would generally do is use this auto match button at the top to match transactions automatically for us. So let's do that. So when we hit this button, what ABR is doing is running through each bank transaction, trying to find a matching NetSuite transaction. So when we return to this reconcile window, what we'll see is that ABR's run through the bank transactions, and where it's found a matching NetSuite transaction, it's allocated a match ID number. You see some ID numbers going in there. And this ID number will correspond with the transaction on the NetSuite side over here. So if we sort by these ID columns, we can see that they match up. Okay. So how ABR matches each transaction is defined by a set of reconcile rules. There is a default rule which matches the transactions where the amount is the same and the NetSuite transaction has a date on or before the bank transaction date. Okay. But then to enhance this matching, we can create other reconcile rules for each reconciliation or each transaction type. We'll have a quick look at that. Let's have a look at our reconcile rules. So let's have a look at our rule for deposits. So we can see a number of options that we can select to define how this type of transaction is matched to a NetSuite transaction. And the more rules we create and the better defined these rules are, the greater number of transactions that will be matched, and with greater accuracy when using that auto match process. Okay, so a little bit about this rule. Over here we've got some dates here, use date, which is a time frame for the NetSuite transaction dates to match on. We can also define whether we're going to use the document or check number to match on, or use the reference to match on, or as well. Okay. And down the bottom, lastly, we say on the rule we can say what NetSuite transaction types to search for. When it's matching up a deposit, it's going to look for sort of receipt type transactions. Let's pop back to our reconcile statement window. Okay, we have a number of unmatched transactions here. So to quickly identify those, we can choose to display only those unmatched transactions. Use that by this little drop down here. Okay, so now we can begin our manual matching process for these few remaining transactions. Okay, so the first one on the bank side is some bank charge that hasn't been put into NetSuite yet. So what we can do is select it just by ticking the box here and click this Create GL Transaction button. This is going to take us to another window where we can quickly enter a journal for this bank transaction. Okay, it's already defaulted to the bank account. There's one line defaulted to the bank account with the amount already in there. So we just need to enter the other line. And click Submit. This is going to take us back to the reconciliation window. Okay, and it's given us a match ID number and matched it to one of the NetSuite transactions. Let's go back and just view our unmatched transactions again. See what other transactions we need to manually match. Okay, so this one here, this payment run 6th October, looks like it might be 2 transactions on the NetSuite side. Okay, as we select those, we can see that the total selected gets populated. If I do the same on this side, we can see that they're both populated now and they do match. And once you've selected those, we click the, scroll up a bit, we click the match button at the top. And that's going to assign an ID number to those transactions, and it will clear them out of both sides, obviously because we're just viewing the unmatched transactions. Okay, so this transaction here for £30 should match this one over here on the NetSuite side, and the reason ABR hasn't matched that is because the dates are out of range. So there's a deposit. Let's just have a quick look back at that reconcile rule. So we've got a time frame here of plus or minus 3 days, but if we look back at our reconcile window, we can see that the date is more than 3 days later than the NetSuite transaction, and that's why it has not matched that one. But we can select both sides and manually match that. Okay, so one more left on the bank side. and it looks as though it should be matched to this one for the same under the same name on the NetSuite side, but the values are different. So on further investigation, we discover that a bank charge has been taken, causing the difference. Okay, so what we can do here is select them both. And again, we can click this Create GL Transaction. Okay. It's taken us back to the journal entry screen where it's automatically included a line for the difference. And it was £10. So we enter the other line. Matching line. Add and submit that transaction. It's going to take us back to our reconcile window, and now we should, if we look at our unmatched transactions, we should see that we've cleared all our bank statement transactions. Let's just check that. Yeah. Okay, we still have a transaction on NetSuite side, but that's not been presented to the bank yet, so it'll be ready for us to reconcile next time. But we're now ready to reconcile this account. At this point, we can drill down to a current reconciliation report, and that's going to give us a summary of the current reconciliation. Let's do that. I'll explain a little bit about this report. This is our current reconciliation. It's got a summary of the NetSuite side on the left and the bank statement side on the right. And then a little bit further down, we've got a detailed breakdown of any unreconciled transactions, shown on the next page. Okay. So once we're happy with our reconciliation, we just click the Reconcile button. And this is going to mark all the transactions on the NetSuite side and the bank side as reconciled, and we'll clear them out of the Reconcile window. So let's have a quick look back at that Reconcile window, make sure they've been cleared out. Yeah, we're showing all transactions, so there's none on the bank side, they've all been reconciled, and there's just that one on the NetSuite side to reconcile at a later date. Okay. So now we've completed our reconciliation, there is just a couple of reports we may want to run. We have a closing balance report. Let's have a look at that. Just select our account and the statement date. There we go. And print that. So this gives us a summary of the reconciliation we've just completed, and on the second page a list of unreconciled transactions. You can run that at any time. Okay, just one other report, which is our period reconciliations. Select the account and it shows us a list of the reconciliations performed on this account, and shows a summary of each reconciliation. It also has a link to that closing balance report that we've just seen. And if we think there is any discrepancy in the report, we can drill down to an audit trail. And that runs through all the NetSuite transactions, seeing if any of them has been changed since they were reconciled. Okay. That does complete the reconcile process and the demonstration as well. So if you do have any questions, you can send them to my colleague Lucy, and either myself or one of our other consultants will get back to you. So thank you for attending.